Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm going to be doing the inverted color challenge. In a video I did a couple months ago, I drew a picture without being able to see the colors. I did this by changing the settings of my display, and while in the display settings, I noticed there was also an option for inverting the colors. And when I saw that, I thought it'd be fun to try to create a picture while the colors are inverted, but once I turn the inverted colors off, it needs to look normal. This seems like it'll be very tricky, but I will try my best. Also, before we jump into the video, I want to thank myself for sponsoring this video. Okay, I didn't pay myself to promote myself in a video, so this isn't really sponsored. But I just want to take a moment to remind you to subscribe and turn notifications on if you haven't already. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe share it with others. And if you want to support me further, consider becoming a channel member or Patreon patron. They get access to all kinds of cool stuff. Okay, enough self-promotion, let's get to drawing. So, I wanted to do this challenge, but I didn't know what to draw for the challenge. This is starting to sound like my last drawing whatever the heck I want video. Recently I want to do things, but I just don't know what to draw. And I knew I wanted to draw fan art, that way I would have a color palette I need to stick to. If I drew original art, it wouldn't really matter what colors I used. So yeah, I wanted to draw fan art of a character, so I'd have to try to match the specific colors. I mentioned in my last drawing whatever the heck I want video that I haven't been playing Genshin Impact very much recently, but a trailer was released announcing that there will be an anime, and the trailer looks so pretty and it's so beautiful. It got me kinda hyped and made me really want to draw Lumen. At first I was drawing a sketch in 3/4 view. I want to keep this illustration pretty simple, mostly because I didn't want to spend ages drawing something that might end up having really awful coloring. Since this is for a drawing challenge where I can't really see the colors. Honestly, I was more nervous about this challenge than the grayscale one, mostly because I know it'll be kind of hard to judge the values of the picture. So yeah. Anyways, I wasn't really vibing with this sketch, so I scrapped it and started to draw a straight on view sketch. When drawing Lumen, I was kind of trying to match her facial proportions. This wasn't super tricky, but it did make things a bit different. Also, Lumen is so cute. I love her. She's adorable. I guess you could say I'm a Lumen main. I pretty much always have her on my team. I really like when she makes different facial expressions, especially when she looks really done with the situation. Oh, also, this is a bit off topic, but many of you have been asking about my opinion when it comes to the Clip Studio Paint subscription kind of drama. I'm a bit late to this, but this was a whole thing over on Twitter, and a lot of people were really mad, and some people even stopped using Clip Studio Paint because of it. And as many of you know, Clip Studio Paint is the main program I use, and so many of you were wondering if I would continue to use it, even though they are introducing a subscription model. And honestly, I feel like the whole subscription thing was a little overreacted to, but this is mostly because the company that makes CSP did an awful job explaining how it's gonna work. Basically, Clip Studio Paint is going to be getting a version 2. So right now, I'm using Clip Studio Paint version 1, and because version 2 is going to be released, version 1 is going to no longer get free updates. However, it will still get bug fixes and have access to the asset library. So basically for people that stay with Clip Studio Paint version 1, nothing really happens. We just won't get free updates like we have been. And this doesn't really bother me, to be honest, because back in the day, it was very common to have to buy new versions of programs if you wanted the new features. Like many years ago, I had to upgrade from Manga Studio 4 EX to Manga Studio 5 EX if I wanted all of the cool new features. So you can upgrade from CSP version 1 to CSP version 2 if you want, but you don't have to. You can continue to use version 1 like you always have. The thing that was confusing people is the subscription model. Basically, you can get access to CSP version 2 updates sooner if you sign up for the subscription service. And like I said, the company did not explain this well. I had to read multiple different tweets to understand what was going on. When I first read the announcement of a subscription model, I was upset because I thought Clip Studio Paint was no longer going to be a one-time purchase, which is one of the things I love about CSP. I really hate needing to pay monthly for a program. I much rather pay a one-time fee. But once I learned more about how the subscription service will work, I wasn't angry anymore. Oh, also, I decided to also draw Paimon in this illustration. Only drawing Lumen felt a little boring. Plus drawing Paimon sounded fun. She's so cute and tiny. Anyways, like I said, if you join the subscription service, you will get access to version 2 updates as they come out. However, if you don't mind waiting for the updates, you can wait for version 3 to release and pay once for version 3. It will have all of the updates that were added to version 2. Basically, when version 2 releases, you can get access to updates early by subscribing to the subscription service. But you can also just wait for all the updates to come out and buy version 3. So the subscription service is optional. It's not needed to use the program. Clip Studio Paint will still be offering a one-time purchase of the software. You won't have to pay monthly for it. You only need to pay monthly for the updates if you want early access to them. So yeah, long story short, I'm not mad. I'm actually happy that Clip Studio Paint will continue to get new versions. I really love the program and I have been using it for 10 years. So I want to see it continue to progress and be enhanced. So yeah, I won't be jumping off the Clip Studio Paint boat anytime soon. I don't think I'll join the subscription service, but I will consider upgrading to the newer versions depending on what features are added. So I guess that's my take on the Clip Studio Paint drama, and I hope that helps clear things up for people that were maybe kind of confused about it. So right now I'm working on the cleanup sketch. I just finished up Lumen and now I'm cleaning up Paimon. Also, you may have noticed that I don't have the colors inverted yet. I will invert the colors after I finish the line art. I wanted to wait to invert the colors because I had a feeling it would kind of hurt my eyes having all of the colors of my screen being the opposite of usual. So I wanted to go as long as I could without inverting the colors. Plus, it's not really needed until I start the coloring process. Also, I do want to, I guess, apologize, or I don't know how to put it. But I didn't do as much drawing as I usually do in this video. Usually for my videos, I do multiple illustrations or challenges. But in this video, I'm basically only doing this challenge. And the video is a bit on the shorter side. I do have a good reason for this. Basically, due to different circumstances, I'm having to get this video done way ahead of time. And I don't have a ton of time to work on it. I'm going to be taking a handful of days off. And on those days off, I can't get any work done. This is the downside of being the only person that works on my content. If I'm away from the office, nothing gets done. So to compensate for that, I need to work ahead and try to get things done kind of fast. Plus, I also have different deadlines related to companies that I need to get done. So yeah, this video only has one picture in it because it's all I had time for this week. Many of you are really understanding and tell me not to work too hard. I'm often the one being hard on myself. So many of you probably don't really care, but I hope this video isn't too boring. But being that there is only one illustration in this video, it does allow me to show you the process a little more. I don't have to speed things up as much, so that's kind of nice. I know many of you like the slow footage of my line art process, so I'm going to stop talking for a moment and let you watch some lines be drawn. Okay, so now that the line art is done, it's time to invert the colors. To do this, I go to my display settings, and then I search color filters. Now I can change the screen to be inverted, and man, it looks scary. Like, look what it did to Tuxedo Sam. It looks like a nightmare. It's so creepy. Plus, it makes the interface look so weird. I'm glad I can rely on my muscle memory a bit, or else I feel like I would have a hard time finding things. So now I just need to fill in the base colors, and when doing this, I need to do the opposite of the usual color. For example, here's the normal color wheel, and here's the wheel with the colors inverted. The colors all swapped spaces. Like, yellow is usually on top, but now it's on bottom. Also, the lighter colors are now at the bottom of the square instead of the top of the square. So when I'm picking colors, I need to pick the opposite of what the color usually is. So like for the skin, we'll say it's a light orange. The opposite of light orange is dark blue, or at least I hope it is. We will see if I'm right later. And basically, I continue this process of figuring out what color is the opposite of the usual color. Like for the white in Lumen's outfit, I use black. For her hair, I use dark blue again, but it's a bit different from the blue of her skin. I'm hoping it'll be more yellow than orange. I was really hoping my color selection was close. I kept figuring out where the colors are by imagining a line across the color wheel. Once again, like how the yellow is at the bottom now, but it's usually at the top. It's directly across. So I kept imagining a line to figure out where the colors were. So getting the hue wasn't too tricky. The part I was more nervous about was getting the right saturation and value. I don't want my colors to be too saturated or too desaturated. I also don't want them to be too dark or too light. But all of this is really hard to gauge when the screen is looking like this. Also, I didn't know what to do for the background, so I'm dragging in this kind of nature background from the Clip Studio Paint asset library, and I blur it a ton. Like I said, I'm keeping this simple. I didn't want to pour a ton of work into this because the colors might end up being really wrong. Oh, also, here's what the background usually looks like when it's not inverted. Now that I have the base colors, I can move on to the shading, and this was the part I was feeling the most perplexed about. So usually shadows get darker and highlights get lighter, but in this case I need the shadows to get lighter and the highlights to get darker. Everything is backwards. Thankfully I did learn I am able to use multiply. It still works like it should. I know it looks like it's making things lighter and usually it makes things darker, but yeah, right now I wanted to make things lighter for the shadows. I hope this is all making sense. My brain felt a little mushy after working on this picture because I had to do a lot of thinking. I did keep the shading pretty minimal, mostly because this is confusing, and while working on this I was having a hard time gauging just how light or how dark things really are. I couldn't tell if I was making my shadows too light or too dark. Because of this, I was a bit timid when shading. I added enough to kind of define the forms a little, but I didn't shade nearly as much as I usually do. However, I did still shade the eyes a decent amount. I have my eye shading process really ingrained into my memory and workflow, so I was feeling a bit more confident about the eyes. This is also where things start to look pretty creepy. Like, it was already kind of creepy, but now it looks even more so. Especially since I had to make the whites of the eyes be black, and I had to make the highlights be darker instead of lighter. It gives everything a very off-putting vibe. Also, using a lighter green for the shading of the sclera felt really weird. I usually use a muted dark purple or blue, and the opposite of that is a lighter green. So once again, it looks kind of strange. Okay, so after shading Lumen, I needed to take a break. The shading only took me like 20 minutes because, like I said, I'm keeping it simple. But yeah, even that short amount of time was enough to make my eyes start to hurt. This is also the reason I was keeping the shading simple, because I can't look at the screen for very long. So how about we both take an eye break? While taking my break, I asked my sister to draw a random line, and I'll try to draw something from it. But all I kept seeing was a snake. Like here it looks like a snake, and then if I turn it, I see another snake. However, when I turned it like this, I kind of saw a balled up figure. Like the arm was coming up and the legs are bent. This is just for an eye break, so I didn't take this very seriously. And the proportions are kind of wonky because I was trying to match the lines my sister drew. Also, I did step away from my screen for a bit and rested my eyes some more away from my computer. So yeah, this is what I saw in the line my sister drew. But now that we've had a bit of a break, let's get back to the picture. I just need to finish up the shading on Paimon, and the picture will be done. Overall, shading her went really fast. However, I was starting to get a bit lazy and tired of trying to think of opposite colors and how they'll look when I turn the filter off. So like for the crown, you don't really see it in the footage when it's sped up. But I initially applied a dark color like they were actually the shadows. But when it's reversed, they would be the highlights, so I had to fix that. Another confusing part was Paimon's eyes because they are very dark normally and have a highlight in the middle. But of course for this I have to reverse for everything, so the highlight's super dark and everything else is super white. The shading style of them was very different from my usual process, so I had to kind of figure out how I wanted to shade Paimon's eyes. And now I'm just finishing things up by adding some gradient, adding some noise. I like to add noise to my pictures because it adds a little bit of texture and I think it looks nice. Then I try to add some light rays because I really like them, but I was also worried they might look weird if I make them too bright. Things will look blown out. But now the picture's done, so let's see how it turned out. Oh wow, okay. So I was not expecting the sky to be orange. Like, I should have thought about that. I thought I dragged in the blue sky background, but I dragged in the sunset background, which makes sense because it was blue and inverted. I should have dragged in the orange one. But I do quite like the orange. I feel like it goes with the colors. I do feel like the values and saturations feel a bit off. Like the whites are really white and the shading overall isn't very dark, so things feel a bit flat. But it could have turned out way worse. I feel like the part that turned out the best was Lumen's eyes. I'm pretty pleased with those. And I kind of like how they coordinate with the background, even though that was an accident. So that is the inverted color challenge. It was definitely an interesting experiment and made me think about colors in a new way. But I don't know if I totally recommend it because it did kind of hurt my eyes. Before we end, I want to say a big thank you to my YouTube members and Patreon patrons. Your support means so much to me. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!